Hey guys, Tanya and David with Outside by Side.
This weekend, we wanted to show y'all how we set up our Grand Design Imagine travel trailer.
We've done some other setup and breakdowns, but the reason for this video is because we purchased a new Grand Design. And for those of you who have a Grand Design, we want to show you the specifics of the setup and breakdown to help you when you're using your travel trailer.
We know our channel's geared for newbies, and we really hope this helps.
Stay tuned. Look at that view.
Before Tanya and I plan a trip, we always like to get our trailer from storage and bring it home the night before. We like to plug the trailer in, get the refrigerator cooled down, go ahead and get everything preloaded. We also like to fill the fresh tank with just a little bit of water, so we have a little bit of water in the trailer for the road if we need it. The other things that we like to do is check the tire pressure to make sure that it's to the manufacturer specs, not only on the tires, but for the trailer. And we also like to just go around and check the lights to make sure all the lights are working, and just make sure that we're not going to have any issues on the road or anything that's down when we get there. Also, as soon as we get rolling, we like to check our trailer brakes.
Before we back into our campsite, we like to check out the site. We want to see where all the hookups are. We want to see where we're going to back in. We want to see where the patio is going to be. And we also want to check the site for leveling. Also, make sure you have enough room for your slide. We backed into our campsite, and we're going to give you the step-by-step on your RV setup and breakdown. And don't forget that we're going to have a printable, savable, step-by-step instructions that can help you when you're going camping for the first time. You want to level left to right first, because once you unhook, you can't fix that. We're going to put it inside the camper, and we're going to make sure that we're level left to right.
Looks like the passenger side is low. It needs to come up about right there, so that kind of gives you an idea of what we need to do to get it level. There's more than one way to level your trailer. Today we're using these leveling blocks. They kind of work like Legos. You can stack them together. And I'm going to put two here, and then we're going to put one right here to lock it together. And we're going to try to drive on top of these and see if we can get our trailer up a little higher on this side. So that looks pretty good left to right. One thing about RV camping is you never know what situation you're going to be in. It's always good to have more than one solution or option to work your way through the problems. Because we were unable to use the levelers, these rubber chocks are not going to work very good on this side because of just what we have here. So what we do have, it's another option. We have these X chocks. And what these do is these fit between the wheels, and they really lock the trailer in well to keep it from rolling forwards or backwards. So I'm going to go ahead and put these in now. These X chocks are not necessary, but they really do help prevent rocking motion forward to backwards while you're inside the camper after you're disconnected from your truck. I'm going to go ahead and put this one on the second side as well. This is also easier to do when the slide is in. Now that we have the trailer chocked and leveled left to right, it's safe to disconnect it from the truck. Remember, never disconnect your trailer from your truck if it's not chocked, because it can take off forwards or backwards, and that would be a bad situation. So first we're going to disconnect the electrical. Then we're going to disconnect our safety pin for our latch. I always like to just kind of roll this stuff up and get it out of the way. And always try to keep your safety pin in a spot to where you're not going to lose it. So I like to just clip it onto something. Now we're going to disconnect our emergency brake cable and our safety chain. Now we're going to disconnect the hitch from the ball. To do that, we're going to use some of these blocks so that our tongue jack is not extended all the way to the ground. And put that down here. We have an electric tongue jack. This makes things a lot easier because you don't have a crank. We also have a weight distribution hitch, and I'm going to show you how we disconnect the hitch from the truck and the trailer. Right now what we're doing is we're lifting the truck with the hitch, and we're taking the weight off of these so we can release the tension to release these bars. Sometimes things can get a little tight here and get in a bind, so there's a special tool that you can use on this. You simply put it in here. Now that we have our weight distribution bars disconnected, we're going to go ahead and lower the truck down so that we can release the ball. Thank God for an electric tongue jack. Release the ball and extend back up again. Now that we've released the ball from the hitch, we're going to move the truck forward and get it out of our way. I always like to disconnect our hitch from the receiver just so it's not sticking out at the campsite. I don't know how many times I've done the shin or the knee bust on this thing in the middle of the night. To remove your hitch, you're going to pull your safety pin and then pull your pin out. Always put your safety pin back so you don't lose it. Now we're going to remove the hitch from the receiver. What we've done, we put a receiver right here on our trailer where we can store our hitch so that we don't have to put it inside our storage bin. And I just keep the pin right here so it's out of the way.
So now that we're unhitched, we're going to check our leveling, see if we need to adjust it. Once we check that, we're going to use our electric tongue jack to level front to back. So in this situation, we do need to lower the front. All right, I think we're level.
Now that we have the trailer level front to back and left to right, and we're chocked, now we're going to deploy our stabilizers. The stabilizers are not to level the trailer, they're only to prevent it from moving while you're inside the camper. To do that, we like to use our electric drill. We have a special socket that fits the stabilizers, and we're going to lower the stabilizers with the drill. So now that we have our stabilizers down, now we're going to start on the utility side of the trailer and start hooking up everything. So this is our outdoor storage. I've got different bins with different things in them. This bin right here is basically all of your electrical and your water. And then I have a separate bin that we use for our sewer connections. Remember, you never want to put your slide out until your stabilizers are down, because when your slide comes out, it puts pressure on one side of the trailer, and it's also bad for your slide. So always make sure that you're good and level and your stabilizers are down before you do that. So now that we have the trailer chocked, stabilized, and the truck unhooked and leveled, now we're going to get started with the electrical. We try to do our electrical first. It lets us get our air conditioner going. It also helps. It's good to put the slide out when you're plugged in if you can. So I'm going to go over the electrical. So like I said before, you never know what situation you're going to be in when you get to some of these camping spots, so you always have to be ready to improvise. Stay up by itself, so we're going to use a stick for that. So the electric service at this campsite, we have 50 amp, we have 30 amp, and we have 20 amp. These are your breakers. All these breakers are currently turned on. You want to make sure that they're turned off before you connect or plug anything in. So we're going to turn our 50 off, we're going to turn the 30 off, and we're going to turn the 20 off. This is our 30 amp surge protector. It's an ActiveStart. It's also a soft starter for your air conditioner, which kind of helps get your air conditioner started if you're running on a generator, or if for some reason you are having to use 20 amp power, it also helps with that. But it also is a surge protector. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and plug our 30 amp in first, and we're going to check our power. This tag right here tells you all of the different scenarios that you could have wrong. You want to make sure that you don't have an issue with the power before you plug your trailer in. So we're going to go ahead and turn our 30 amp on. You can see right here we have a green light. We don't have a green and a red, which would be a hot neutral reverse. And we don't have a red only, which would be a hot ground reverse. Any of these situations could be bad for your trailer, your appliances, or your air conditioner. So now that we know that our power is good, we're going to go ahead and turn our power back off with the breaker. And now it's safe to connect it to our trailer. It's always good to have different options on your utilities. So of course we do have 30 amp because that's what our trailer requires. But you might get in a situation to where something is wrong with the 30 amp, like the breaker's bad or the plug is bad. And in that case, you would be able to use this 50 to 30 amp adapter, which means that you could plug it into the 50 amp side. What this does is it takes one of the legs out and basically converts it from 50 to 30. So then you could still plug your 30 amp into here and use this circuit. Also, in a really bad situation, if you don't have anything at all, you could always use the 20 amp to 30 amp adapter. Believe it or not, with this ActiveStart 30 amp Soft Starter surge protector, you are able to run your air conditioner on a 20 amp circuit, and you would be able to get by, especially if you were boondocking at your friend's house, or if you were just in a situation to where you didn't have 30 or 50. It's always good to have other options. So these dog bones are not a bad idea. By the way, we're not getting paid by ActiveStart, but we do love this device so much that we're going to put a link to it in our video. So now we're going to connect our 30 amp cable to our trailer. This is our 30 amp inlet right here. This is a twist lock plug. You want to look for the little flange with the tab on it, and that goes on the one with the little notch. So you want to line that up, push that in. When you twist it, it actually locks, and then it's always a good idea to come back and put your ring on here to make sure that your connection is tight. It also helps keep water and weather out of there. And then just put your cover back down like that. Another thing that you want to make sure that you have is it's nice to have an extension cord, just in case you get into the situation to where your other cord is too short and you need to be able to reach the pedestal. Sometimes you will need an extension cord. So now that we've got that plugged into the camper, now we're going to come back to the pedestal and plug it up. And guys, if you can, always remember, when you plug your camper in, make sure that your air conditioner is off and all of your major appliances like your electric water heater or anything like that, because you don't want to have a big surge when you plug this in for the first time. Remember, our breaker's off. So now we're going to plug our 30 amp power into our ActiveStart surge protector, and we're going to turn our breaker back on. And so now we have 30 amp power going to our trailer. I always like to take all my extension cords and roll them up neatly and keep them out of the trailer so they're not outside in the weather, exposed to the sun, or you don't trip over them. So we're just going to go ahead and just roll this one up. And we're just going to put it right there.
All right, we're gonna turn on the air conditioning. Look, it's 88 degrees in here. Guys, it's a hot day. Now that we're level, we have our stabilizers out, and we have the electrical hookup, we're gonna extend our slide.
Now that we have our electrical hooked up, now we're going to get started with the hookup of our water. As we've said before, we really love these 0G 50-foot hoses. They're lightweight, they're easy to roll up, they don't take a lot of room in your storage, and they don't kink. So we're going to go ahead and start this process. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to install our water pressure regulator. These campsites can have unknown water pressure that can go up and down. Sometimes it's low, sometimes it's high. What this does is it prevents it from exceeding a certain point that you have set. So the ideal pressure for our trailer and most trailers is between 40 and 50 psi. You can actually set the pressure on here, which is where we currently have it set. So what I'm going to do is install this on here. And I always like to tighten things just a little bit more because I hate things to drip. So we're going to tighten this up with our pliers. And then from there, we're going to use our water filter. It's an inline water filter. You can get this at Walmart or Amazon or any RV supply store. And notice that these filters have a direction. So there's a little arrow that shows the flow. So now we're going to hook that up to our water pressure regulator. We're going to get that nice and tight so that we don't have a drip. Hook this end up. Get it nice and tight. And now we're going to take this down to the trailer. On our trailer, all of the water hookups are on the inside of the storage. It's really a nice feature because it helps keep it out of the weather, especially if it's in the winter. And the way it works is the hose comes in the bottom and then you hook it up to your trailer right here. This is your water flow switch. If you turn it down, that's your city water. And then this trailer actually has a feature to where if you turn it in this position, you can fill your fresh tank with this connection right here, and you don't have to use the tank fill, which is on the other side. So what I always like to do is when I initially hook it up, I like to put it on tank fill so that I can purge all the air out of the hose. So now that we've purged some of the air out of this hose, it basically all just kind of went into the fresh tank. Now we're going to turn it back to city water, and we're going to go check our pressure. It looks like we're right about 50 psi, which is perfect.
Okay, next we're going to put out our awning so we can get some shade. Just remember that if you're not here, you want to bring your awning in because there can be any weather changes happen while you're gone. So please make sure that you don't have your awning out while you're not at your campsite. But we're going to go ahead and put our awning out so that way we can have some shade.
Whoa! Now we're going to go ahead and get our propane turned on so we can have water heater and stove. Another thing I like to do is I like to keep my tongue jack covered. For one, it protects it from the UV. It also protects it from the rain, and it just makes things last a little bit longer. So we have one of these covers. It has a drawstring down here at the bottom, and it's just a good precaution to take. Another precaution I like to take is I like to lock my surge protector or soft starter to the pedestal. There can be a few dishonest people that like to walk around at night and try to take whatever they can. And this is just something that we've spent a lot of money on, and we want to try to hold on to it for as long as possible. Basically what I have is one of these cable locks. This thing does have a ring here. It also has a loop up here that you could run it through, but this is really the best route to go. We're just going to simply take that. This is the cable lock that we're currently using. You simply just push the cable through the top and get it nice and snug. And then if somebody wanted to, they could cut the cable, but this would just slow them down just a little bit. Then we're going to remove our prop stick and close our cover just to keep the weather out of here if it does rain. Now we're going to start the sewer hookup. I've got my gloves on. It's a good idea because, like I always say, it's our poo, but it's still poo. Our new camper does not have a bumper. There's a sewer hose holder underneath the camper right here. So this is where we keep our sewer hose. This weekend we're fortunate enough to have a sewer hookup or full hookups at our campsite, which means that you can hook your sewer hose directly into the ground and you don't have to dump at the dump station or worry about conserving your water so much when you take a shower. We're going to go ahead and hook our sewer hose up now. For that, you're going to need one of these. It's basically it's a 90-degree elbow. I highly recommend getting the one that has clear so that you can see the contents when you're emptying. This is the particular sewer hookup that we have here. And what you're going to do is you're going to open it. These things are threaded. As you can see, this thing has different variations of threads depending on what type there is. Sometimes you might get into a situation to where there's no threads at all, and it's nice to maybe possibly have one of these rubber gaskets that you can stuff down in here and then fit this into it. But fortunately, we're not gonna need that here today. So we're gonna go ahead and let's take this off and go ahead and get our connector threaded down in here to where we don't have to worry about it popping out. Then we're going to go ahead and connect this back. Always try to get this to point in the direction of your sewer hookup. Where we're at today, it looks like it might be kind of far, so it's always nice to have more than one of these sewer hoses just in case you need to extend it. And these sewer hoses are great, by the way, because they collapse, so they don't take up a lot of room in your storage. Now we're going to go ahead and get this connected. Guys, when you hook these hoses up, it's very important that you make sure that these things are connected correctly, because if they're not connected correctly, they can pop loose and you can have a big nasty mess at your campsite. So the way these things work is they have these little balls here that need to fit inside of these, and the most important thing is that you twist it and these things lock inside of that position right there so that it's going to be nice and tight. And then we're going to go ahead and take this to the other end and we're going to see if it's going to reach or not. I think we've lucked out with our connection. We're not going to have to use our extension hose after all. It's very important that you make sure that your valves are shut, because if one of these is pulled open and you take this off, it's going to be a big mess. So always make sure that these are shut at all times. We're going to go ahead and twist our cap. Beware, there might be a little bit of residual fluid in here from the last time. They do tend to drip, so you know that's another reason why you want to wear your gloves. And we're going to go ahead and hook our hose up. That looks like it's going to work out just fine. And finally, these are not required, but they are a nice thing to have. What they do is they make sure that your hose is always going downhill. It also keeps it off the ground. These are called the Sidewinder, but we like to call it the Stinky Slinky. So you take this off. Obviously, this end is going to go to the sewer side, and this is going to, the high end is going to go to the trailer side. So this is your black and your gray tank valve. Apparently we've lost our valve on the highway for the gray. A little screw must have come out, so that's okay, we'll get by. It's very important that you keep your black tank shut at all times until you're ready to dump. You want to make sure that your black tank has as much water in it as possible before you dump. The gray, you can dump it as needed. When you take a shower, if it fills up and you want to come out here and pull it and dump it, that would be good. We always like to leave a little bit of gray in our tank so that when we dump our black, that we're able to flush out the hose with the gray. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull the gray now just to make sure that everything is flowing.
Okay, we're gonna turn on the water heater. Our water heater is a tankless water heater. We have it preset for 122 degrees, which seems to work for us. You want to make sure that you purge the air out of the lines. Can you hear it? Okay, we're finished with the setup. Now you can enjoy your weekend, enjoy your week, enjoy your vacation, and not have to worry about anything until it's time to go.
So stay tuned and we're going to show you how to break it all down and head out.
All right, guys, we've had an amazing weekend and now it's time to disconnect. We're gonna show you the breakdown so that way when you're ready to go, you'll have step-by-step instructions on what to do.
Okay, we're gonna start with our tank dumps. And of course, we're gonna start with the black first. We have our sewer hose hooked up to the sewer connection at the campground. Right here, you have the black tank and the gray tank. Okay, labels. Down here are the valves. Remember, we lost our gray knob but we still have our black. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pull the black. So that was our first, what I call our first pull, and it was pretty nasty. You probably don't want to see what came out of that. And since we have full hookups or sewer hookup at the campground, I like to try to take advantage of flushing out our tank or rinsing out our tank as much as possible, because when you're at the dump station on a Sunday afternoon, sometimes you don't have enough time to do all that, especially when you have a line of campers behind you that also want to dump. In some of our previous videos, we demonstrated how this Rhino Blaster Pro works to rinse out your tank. And basically, you hook this up to your trailer, you hook the water hose up to here, you keep this valve shut, and as the water is backfilling your tank, you do this several times and then you pull to rinse. And it really does help keep your tank fresh, especially when it's going to be in storage for a long time. Our new trailer is equipped with a black tank rinse, so we're going to use that today. On the other side of this trailer, there's a black tank flush or a black tank rinse. And basically, we're going to hook our other water hose up to it. Keep in mind that you don't want to use the same water hose that you use for the drinking water for this. So this is a different hose that we're using. Basically, I've got it connected right here to the trailer. This hose goes down into the black tank, and it has like a jet in there that spins around, kind of like similar to what would be in a dishwasher. So it just kind of sprays, and it helps rinse out the sides of the tank and rinses out the bottom of the tank. The trick to this is you want to turn this on, and you want to leave your valve shut so that it kind of has a chance to fill up a little bit, but do not let it overfill. If you walk away and you start working on other things, all of a sudden now your toilet, you got water coming out of your toilet and your bathroom's flooding. So, you know, maybe about 5 minutes, and then pull it, and then we're going to do that over and over and over again until we can kind of see more of a clear coming out of the sewer hose. So what I've installed here for this, it's basically a Y. So our camper is still hooked up to the city water, but this is that same hose. Notice how they're a little bit different color. That's a nice thing to have. But this is the hose going to our black tank rinse or our black tank flush. And so basically what we're going to do is we're going to turn this on. This one does leak a little bit, by the way. Over here, we're going to go ahead and close that black tank valve. And what we're doing is we're basically letting that water fill that tank up again. Most of the nasty stuff is on the bottom of the tank. So what you want to do is basically fill it up. You want to fill that tank up a little bit and then give it another pull and let all that nasty stuff come back out. And we're going to do that several times. And we're going to try to get this tank as clean as possible. Then we're going to put our tank treatment in there with a little bit of water so that when it goes to storage for, actually Tanya and I use our trailer quite a bit, but it could be over there for a week or so before we use it again. And we want to try to keep this tank as clean as possible. Another hint that we do, and I've heard some people say they do it and some people say it doesn't matter, but we do not put toilet paper in our tank. We put toilet paper in a little trash can in our bathroom. The toilet paper, when it breaks down, it kind of like it's floating around in there, and it sticks to the sides of the tank. It sticks to the sensor. At least this is what I feel. It sticks to the sensor, and it's almost like a paper mache if you've ever used that. It just kind of glues itself to everything. We never put toilet paper in our tank, and I think that's just one precaution that you could use to prevent future problems. Another note to that, the RV approved toilet paper, to us that just doesn't work very well anyway for what you actually use it for. So we don't put toilet paper in our tank at all. It's been about 5 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and pull it on round 2. It's a little cleaner. You still might see a meatball or a turd go by, maybe a little corn. Of course, all that's Tanya, not me.
I think not.
We're going to go ahead and close off our black tank valve again and let that tank fill back up a couple more times or until it's clear. Okay, so now that I think that we're going to be okay on our black tank, it's coming out pretty clear. And I can't express to y'all how important this is, that you don't leave anything in there for next time, because then it can be a really stinky problem. We're going to go ahead and turn that one off. We're going to go ahead and close the black. And remember, We lost our gray handle, so we have our trusty channel locks. Like I say, you always have to be prepared because you never know what's going to happen when you're camping. So we're going to go ahead and grab onto that and pull it. Remember, this is the gray tank. The gray tank is your shower, and your sink and your soapy water. So now we're going to run some soapy water through here, and you'll see that coming out down there at the other end. We love our 0G hoses. Look how easy they are to roll up. Make sure that when you roll up all of your hoses that you get all of the water out of them. You don't want to have any water sitting in a hose for any long amount of time because it can get nasty just like everything else. So I always like to start at one end and roll it up and let the water run out as I'm going. Another little trick is I like to buy these, they're basically Velcro cord wraps. You can use these on your water hoses and your electrical cords. It keeps everything nice and tidy so that when you throw it in your container, it's easier to get stuff without it getting all tangled up. Just in case you're wondering, like everybody else in the world, we get everything on Amazon. It's really easy. They have good prices, and you can also shop different items, of course, and read all the comments. So now that we have our gray tank close to empty, we're going to go ahead and close that valve. And now that we have the valve closed, we're going to disconnect. The situation we're in here in this campground is our hose is actually going uphill. So there could be a little bit of water in here still. Thank God it's the gray water, so we're going to find out when we disconnect it. And as soon as you disconnect your hose, you want to lift it up high so that whatever's left in the hose can drain back into the sewer. So here we go. Are you ready? Now that we have all of our sewer disconnections complete, we're going to go ahead and put our cap back on our sewer pipe. Now we're going to put our hose away. Now we're going to go ahead and disconnect our water from the city spigot. And what I like to do is I always like to have a little bit of fresh water in my fresh tank just in case we need it on the road, or if Tanya's in there cleaning and she needs some fresh water. So after I've disconnected it, we'll still be able to use water if we need to. We'll go ahead and turn this off. Another good thing about having one of these Ys is you can always purge whatever you have in the line, so that when you try to disconnect these hoses, they don't spray all over you. So we're going to go ahead and disconnect the hose first. And our water filter. Remember, all of these things, you never want to store them with water in them. So I always like to take my water filter and give it a good... That way it's semi-dry, and we won't just have water sitting in there. So we're going to go ahead and put our filter up. We're going to disconnect this Y right here. These are great to have, by the way. It's a Y with 2 valves where you can individually turn things on and off. And then here's our water pressure regulator. Now we're going to disconnect the hose from the trailer. And I'm going to put this cover back on that fitting just to keep everything clean.
So after we've dumped the black tank, we want to put a tank treatment. Right now we have RV Digested. We got it at our RV dealer because we had some credits. But we're not happy with this. We always use Happy Camper, or maybe the Walmart brand that comes in the little tabs. So we're not going to buy this anymore. And we've just ordered some Happy Camper, and that's what we highly recommend. So we're gonna put this in the toilet. I'm gonna add a little water, add the treatment.
Put all of it in.
Yeah, we're gonna be done with this because we don't like it. And now it will be ready for storage. All right, so our next step is we're going to bring in our slide, and what you want to make sure is that you bring in your slide before you raise your stabilizers. That's very important to keep everything level. As we want to make sure that we sweep before you bring in your slide. Just make sure you get all the dust and dirt out. The reason you want to keep your floors clean is because if there's any kind of gravel or dirt and you bring in your slides, it could mess up your floors because it can scrape the floors. So it's just very important to keep the floors clean before you bring in your slides.
Before we can hitch up the trailer to the truck, you have to raise the stabilizers up because you will not be able to use your tongue jack to raise or lower your trailer if your stabilizers are out. So next step is raise your stabilizers. Now we're going to go ahead and get the trailer hooked up to the truck. So I need to grab my weight distribution hitch and hook it up to the receiver. Remember, your pin goes through the hole. And don't forget your safety pin. Alright guys, now that we have our stabilizers up, we're going to go ahead and hitch up our trailer. What we're using is the Easy Lift R3 weight distribution hitch. All the weight distribution hitches are going to be a little different, but this is how ours works, and we will put a link to ours. It's working really good for us so far. We have a video on this weight distribution hitch if you wanted to see a little bit more in detail of how it works. Now that we have the ball lined up, make sure that your latch is open. If you lower your ball with this closed, it's going to get jammed up and you will not be able to get it loose easy. So keep that open. Go back up here to your tongue jack and we're going to hit the retract. And we're going to lower it down onto the ball. You will notice the truck start to squat a little bit here because we're putting some weight on it. Once you get a little bit of weight on there, you should be able to latch your hitch. Make sure that this latch goes all the way forward, okay? Since we have it latched, we're going to do everything we did earlier. So we're going to go ahead and get our safety latch here. We're going to get our light and brake cable. We're going to hook it up to our 7-pin harness. Make sure that you push this all the way in. Also make sure that this little tab right here is behind that little flap. That's going to prevent it from coming back out. What I like to do with my safety pin is I like to put it inside of the hitch latch, and I run my wire through there. It just keeps my wire out of the way and keeps it from dragging. And what this is going to prevent is it coming unhitched. So we've got that part done. All right, so now that we have our lights, brakes hooked up and our safety pin, we're going to go ahead and hook up our safety chains. The safety chains are a precaution in case any of this fails right here. Your safety chains will keep your trailer hooked up to your truck and keep it from going down the highway. So we're going to go ahead and hook these safety chains up to the receiver. By the way, a lot of people believe in crossing the safety chains, which I also believe in, but in this particular trailer, they're both coming from the same point, so they don't form an X. If this was come unhooked, it's still a Y either way. And we also have a video on that. We'll leave it in the description. So we're going to go ahead and hook these back up to the receiver. Make sure these little safety pins are in that position right there, the closed position. And then last but not least, this is the emergency breakaway cable. So what this does, if all of this fails and the trailer does come off of the truck, this will pull a switch that's in the box and will actually lock up the brakes on the trailer to keep it from, prevent it from going down the highway. We're simply going to hook this in the same spot where we have the safety chain. Now we're going to hook up the weight distribution bars. These are basically like torsion bars or springs. And what they do is they put weight on the front wheels of the truck and on the back wheels of the trailer and take weight off the rear wheels of the truck to get rid of the squat. It also distributes the weight to the front and the rear. So we're going to go ahead and hook these up. The way that these work is they're a little different than some of the other ones. They go on the top. So when you put them in this position right here and you drop them down in, and then watch this little latch right here. When you rotate it, now it's locked. Always check to make sure that it's in that position. And like I showed you before, when we released the trailer, if we lift the truck with the tongue jack, you'll see these bars start to rise. And so what we're going to do is we're going to preload the bars before we hook them up. So now we're going to use a special tool to get these bars up in there. Sometimes you don't need it, but in this particular situation, because of the incline we're on, it's a little bit more of a bind than normal. So what we're going to do is we're going to hook this in here, hook it in that hole. Then we're going to put this safety pin in here. Do the same thing on the other side. Now that we have our weight distribution bars hooked up, we're going to lower the trailer. Another important tip, always make sure that your tongue jack is raised up all the way and then it's not hanging down, so that when you take off, you don't rip that off on a curb. Since we're up here, we're going to go ahead and turn our propane off, since we'll no longer need hot water or the furnace. So those are off. We're going to go ahead and close this up. And tighten up these little screws. And that concludes the connection to the truck. Also, this weight distribution hitch has built-in sway control. The sway control is controlled by this bolt right here. It has a large Allen wrench, and what this does is you tighten this after you get everything hooked up, and it restricts your trailer from swaying when you're going down the highway. So I like to get it to where it's about that tight and just give it a little bit ugga-dugga right there, and that should be good for the sway. Now that we've shut off our propane, let's turn off our tankless hot water heater.
Now we're going to take care of the inside. And as we mentioned, we do our electric last so we can have air conditioning, and then once we get the electric done, we're ready to go. But the first thing you're going to want to do is just make sure everything is ready for the inside. Make sure that you have put all of your belongings away. For example, we just have your standard coffee pot, and I like to go the extra mile and just put some paper towels around here because it's glass. I also put paper towels on the inside just so there's not excess water. And then once we get back camping, I clean that out. But we just want to make sure we have everything put away. I kept my oil here because it's breakable and I don't want it to get broken on the road. I'm going to leave this out because we're going to eat before we leave, so I'll put that away. In the bathroom, what's important is that nothing falls. You want to make sure that you take down your shower head because it can fly off while you're driving. One thing I saw recently that I really liked is make sure that you go around and check your cabinet doors, because sometimes you can just, even though they have the close, but sometimes if they're like this, you know, they're not closed all the way, it can fly open, all your stuff can fly out while you're on the road. So just make sure all your drawers and your cabinets are closed. We travel quite a bit, we're always on the go. So I found these really big bags. We don't wash our sheets every single time we camp because we're only using them 1 or 2 days. But I found these really good bags, and so I put all of our bedding in these bags, like the pillows. I can get 3 pillows in 1 bag, and we use a lot of pillows, by the way. But I put all of our pillows and bedding in these bags, and then they store well, and you don't have to worry about critters, or my big thing is smells. I don't like nasty smells. so they don't smell. The humidity doesn't get your bedding. I really like these bags. I found these on Amazon. They're just big portable bags with handles. So they're really, really nice. But just make sure all your belongings are put away. Make sure there's nothing that can rattle and shake around and fall out of your camper while you're moving. So another thing is we usually take our trailer home before and clean it well and take our food out before we take it to storage. But sometimes we'll take it directly to storage, and if we do, that's when we'll clean it, take out our food to take home. But just make sure all your food's gone, even in your pantry.
Now that we're connected and hitched up to the truck, it makes it safe for us to remove our X-chocks and our chocks.
So we're gonna grab a quick bite before we leave. I made us tomato sandwiches. This is something you get in the South. If you grew up in the South, you grew up with tomato sandwiches. If you like tomatoes, try it. Tomato, mayonnaise, and I use this Green Goddess in mine. It's not very salty. It's from Trader Joe's. You can also get it on Amazon. And I think you'll really, really love it. Another good tip for tomato sandwiches is if you put the fried onions on it, wow, it's delicious. So that's what we're having, a wonderful salad, and just wanted to give you a little tomato sandwich tip.
Now we're going to disconnect our electric. Don't forget to turn off the breaker first. This is the 30 amp breaker for the 30 amp plug. We'll turn that off. We're going to pull our surge protector out and start to roll up all of these.
Oh, look at that pretty sunset.
Yeah. Don't forget to disconnect the other end of the twist lock from your electric inlet. Just undo your ring and don't forget to twist it, pull it out, and close the door. Don't forget to put up your steps and lock the door. And guys, last but not least, one of the most important things is walk around your camper, walk around your truck, make sure all the bins are shut, make sure all the lights are working. It's also a good idea just to go around and kick the tires, make sure that you don't have, that your tire pressures are good, and make sure that everything is going to be ready for that trip on the way home, because you don't want to leave anything out where you're going to have a problem. And that's it. We're done. We're out of here.
All right, guys, we hope our video has been helpful. And if you are a newbie, especially if you're a newbie with a Grand Design Imagine, and this is your first time camping, or you need RV setup and breakdown assistance, hopefully this video has been detailed enough for you. Also, we're going to put a step-by-step instructional list in the link below, so you can either save it to your phone, print it out, whatever works best for you. And that way, when you're going camping, you can just run down the list, and hopefully that'll get you through your first time camping.
Guys, we really enjoy making these videos for y'all, and we really enjoy the travel trailer and the camping and the outdoor life. And we really just want to help y'all. We know that sometimes people are trying to decide on if they want to be able to do this or not, and it's great fun. We love doing it. It is a lot of work, and every time we go out, we learn something new. Every time we go out, we have a different problem that we have to overcome. And like I always say, it's always nice to have more than one option on what you can do with some of your gear and your equipment, to where if you do have an issue, you can work your way out of it and not spoil your weekend with your family.
Just remember, guys, we're in this together. We're just your average couple who just decided to make YouTube videos. And our goal was to help people. Our goal is to share our knowledge with you, and you share your knowledge with us as much. I mean, we appreciate your comments. We appreciate you subscribing to our channel. I mentioned this in a video for my daughter's podcast. Love don't cost a thing. So just hit the love button. Subscribe to our channel. It helps with the YouTube algorithm. And do you want to know an update on David's cancer progress? We always try to share that. David is doing fantastic, and he's getting his port out at the end of the month.
Thank God.
I know. He has, if you don't know, look at our previous video. David went through colon cancer, and we shared that because we wanted to educate, again, help people who've been through that. So,
and really appreciate all y'all's thoughts and prayers. It really meant a lot.
Yeah.
And it's nice to know that I have so many people that have been looking out for me and praying for me.
Yes, we do believe in the power of prayer, and thank you so much. And he's doing fantastic. He's the hero right here. He's the hero.
I'm not gonna lie, the chemo was no fun.
Now, one thing he is going through, if any of you have been through colon cancer and recovered, he does have neuropathy. So every now and then you might see a blooper of him tripping or falling or something.
I have dead people's feet.
And that's just part of the process. And we try to make light of it, but it is a serious, serious situation. And we have just really learned so much through this process, and he is pulling through and we're pulling through. It's been tough, but with the grace of God, we all make it through life. But thanks again, guys, and we will see you on the next video.
Life is good.
Yes.
Thank you for watching.
Have a great one.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Prevent rocking motion forward to backward. Keep an eye on the big toads. Those are yours.
Those are yours, not mine.
So there's a sewer. There's a sewer hose. There's a sewer hose. There's a sewer hose holder underneath the camper right here.
You're getting old when this is what your hands look like.
All right. Shit.
David, what the heck? What just happened? You shoved out the other hose.
Yeah, I broke the door.
You broke the door?
Which could get you by. And believe it or not, with this soft starter, sorry, I had to burp.